tattoos, and all of them kind of like tell a story in chronological order. And the first one I got when I was 18, and the last one I got when I was like 20, like a couple months ago. The first tattoo I got is for my grandfather. When I grew up, I lived with him, and he called me his little feather. That was just like the nickname he gave me, and he would like sing and play the guitar. And my favorite song he would sing was Against the Wind by Bob Seger. And my second tattoo is a paintbrush on my foot, and I got that because I love to paint and because my faith, I'm like a Christian, and my favorite image of the Lord is how he's like our artist, like he created us to be exactly how he wanted us to be. And so I just have always said like the Lord's like paintbrush has been on me. And the third one I got is 3 arrows on my side, and my grandfather was also Cherokee, like Indian, and arrows meant hope and forgiveness, and it was also a sign of healing. So I got 3 for him and also for the Trinity. And my fourth tattoo says point on my wrist. I got that when I worked at a camp and met a kid with special needs, and he couldn't speak, but halfway through the summer he started saying the word point like over and over, and that's the only word he could say, and he just like made me really happy, and it was just a really sweet time in my life, and it taught me just how to live each day kind of like with childlike faith in the Lord. And then my most recent tattoo is a shepherd's staff down my back, and at this point in my life, like I feel like I don't know a lot what I want to do, but it's just a constant reminder that the Lord's like my shepherd, and he's just going to guide me.
Basically, I wanted to get the tattoo because my brother passed away in January of last year, and basically through some kind of events that are hard to explain, Alice kind of came to represent my brother to my family and I, and so like that was just kind of like in my head for a few months, and I'd always wanted to get a tattoo, but I hadn't really like ever had like a firm idea of what to get. And I also had the idea at the same time like for another tattoo I wanted to get of a lantern, just to kind of like represent the light of God in my life, and how it shined through dark events in my past. And so after my brother died, that kind of became really relevant, like the light of God shining through even like this really dark circumstance that was going on with losing my brother. And so I just kind of had the idea to combine the owl to represent my brother, and then the light, and with the owl carrying the light, it kind of represented God's light still shining through and being carried through that dark situation.
I have 2 tattoos, a rose on my back and then a sparrow on my hip. I got this sparrow for my 18th birthday. It was a gift from my aunt. She took me to get one. I had printed out this picture when I was 16, and I was like, I'm going to get this tattoo, like I have to have it. It's a sparrow because they mate for life, and they fly with the same bird for life, and they always fly back to where they were born. For my 20th birthday, she went ahead and promised me another tattoo because I had been begging her to get one, and my 20th birthday rolled around and we just kind of couldn't get appointments for them, and my granddad passed away suddenly in August, and so we were kind of just like, all right, like he had the family crest on his arm, and so we were like, well, we'll just go get that. And as we're going through the process of trying to get his funeral arrangements figured out, anything like that, my uncle kept playing the song The Rose by Conway Twitty, and we were like, please stop playing that song, like it's so annoying, just stop playing it, like we don't want to hear it anymore. And then we found this note that my granddad had written out about everything he wanted at his funeral, and he put that he wanted someone to sing that song at his funeral. So it was like completely unrelated that my uncle had been playing that song all week, and it had kind of been one of my granddad's favorite songs, and I had always heard him talk about it. And then when we found that piece of paper, he had like written out that that's what he wanted sang at his funeral, and he wrote out all the words, and we were just kind of like, that's it.
The Gloria Adios, that was more of a rebellious one, I guess. It was the first one, so I was just kind of trying to rebel against my parents and kind of compromise with not as much a rebellion. You know, Gloria Adios, it means glory to God in Spanish. So I was kind of trying to not be too out there, just to kind of staying safe. It was underneath the clothes, you can't see it. So that's my safe tattoo, I guess. Which is ironic because I'm not really very religious anymore, so it's just kind of there. The second one I got was the flowers. They are Shakespeare. It's from Hamlet. The center flower is a daisy, which signifies innocence. And it's significant because they don't pick up that flower. The character, she says, "Oh, look, a daisy," and she doesn't pick it up. So it signifies kind of the loss of innocence there. And then on either side I have rue, which stands for regret, and rosemary, which stands for remembrance. So kind of remember your regrets, I guess. Just kind of all a loss of innocence there. It's Ophelia's flowers. The ankle tattoos are just kind of for funsies. I didn't really have any purpose for those. I like to think that it's, you know, it anchors yourself. And each person has to be their own anchor, is the way I like to think of it. The guy I went to prom with, he was really, really rich. And so I went to prom with him and he just kind of offered to buy me tattoos. We stayed at prom for about 10 minutes, got one dance in, then he let me drive his mom's Mercedes. And then I went to the tattoo shop and he bought me this $60 tattoo just because. It was good.
My tattoo is basically kind of a symbolism of my girlfriend and I's relationship. It's simple to the point. It's like we get together and hang out and watch movies, and we love movies. We're movie addicts. Cuddle up on the couch and just chill and watch movies, basically. It's a film strip with an infinity symbol, and it sums up pretty much how we like to hang out and just spend time together.
My tattoo on my shoulder I got just for fun. It was my 18th birthday. I really like sugar skulls and I wanted something with a lot of color, and so I decided to get that. And then the one on my hip I got after my friend's dad passed away. We got one of our own styles, and we came up with the idea from the Robert Frost poem. It's the one where it says, like, at the end, it's like, the one thing I've learned about life is that it goes on.
Well, I have my Harry Potter. It's gonna turn into a side piece. Right now it's just made out of like 3 different pieces. And so I have the Slytherin's locket, and I just got that because I'm a Slytherin and we grew up with the books. Like, that's my childhood. So, and then above it I have the last line of the series, which is "All was well," because that's just a good way to remember it. And then about a month ago I got the little Deathly Hallows symbol with one of my best friends who lives out in LA. So we did that like commemorate our trip, and just to get little friendship tattoos. My bird on my back I got because my family's just always called me Birdie, like my whole life, and I thought that could translate really well into a beautiful tattoo. And so I kind of brought the idea to my artist, and he kind of drew something up for me, and I just like the color blue, and I want it to be bright and vibrant.
I got my first tattoo, I think it was actually freshman year of college over Christmas break. My sister and I have matching tattoos, and it was the hummingbird, and it's from my maternal grandmother, and it has her initials on the wing, JBW. I wanted a tattoo for a really long time, but I couldn't figure out what I wanted. And then one day we were just like hanging out in her room, and I was like, wait, hummingbird. And that's the story of the first one. And the second one, me and my sister actually have a matching one as well. Hers is blue, mine's red, and it's for our paternal grandmother. Because, I don't know, they both passed away when I was, I think, 12, within like the same year. So it's kind of just like a memorial of them. Like, they're always on my side, but like without it like saying like rest in peace, you know how some people get those. So I decided to get a snapdragon in her memory, and it has a J on the bottom, but it looks more like an iris. But I think it's difficult to tattoo a single snapdragon because they're hard to draw anyway, and tattooing it's even more difficult. But I'm okay with the end result. I'm happy with it. I think it's beautiful. And then the third one, my most recent one, when did I get it? I can't remember.
but I went with my brother as well again. And the same guy's done all 3 of my tattoos because, I mean, I trust him because I've known him forever. And I was like, I pretty much just told him I wanted a hot air balloon because I got this fascination with hot air balloons, and I don't know, I've never ridden in one, but it's on my bucket list. So I was like, just do me a tattoo, do me a hot air balloon, you know? And he was like, all right, we got it. I mean, it's little, but the details in it are pretty exceptional.
Well, my tattoos are definitely, I would say, representative of myself. I would say that certainly the most important thing to me in my life is my faith in Jesus Christ. So, as you can see, most of them have something to do with that, whether it be praying hands or, you know, his initials with the Chi-Rho, which is the Greek initials of Jesus Christ, the Chi and the Rho, superimposed. It's an ancient symbol in the church. It's a way for me to have an outward expression of my faith. Are there any specific stories behind my tattoos? Not super specific. They're mostly pretty general, just kind of general Christian symbolism. The lantern is from the Bible verse Matthew 5:15, in which he's talking about, you know, no one has a lamp and puts it under a basket, but you let your light shine. So that's representative of that. Praying hands, just to kind of represent, you know, prayer in general. There's the stigmata in the hands, so, you know, I guess we can presume that those are Jesus' hands, and then the cross. And then the Chi-Rho. The Chi-Rho is my first tattoo. This was the first one I had. I just knew that I wanted the Chi-Rho. That symbol's come up a lot of times in my life. I actually have a small clothing company called Chi-Rho Clothing, in which something like that is the logo. But yeah, I love the symbol, and I took it to an artist, said, you do whatever you want, and he put it on a big rose, and I'm really happy with how it came out. And for my chest, I figured, you know, what better thing to put on the most prominent part of my body, or not prominent necessarily because I wear a shirt most of the time, but I like the idea that at the center of my life is Jesus Christ, and at the center of my body is a representation of that faith. My Harry Potter tattoos are kind of more on a whim. It was the day after Halloween. I had dressed up as Harry Potter. Those stories I kind of grew up with. I've read the series over and over again. Grown up seeing the movies, going to the Minute Premieres, dressing up. I'm a total geek when it comes to Harry Potter. And it's just really important to me.
Well, I have 2. One of them a little bit bigger than the other one. This one, my first tattoo I got 4 years ago, right when I got to GCSU, a little bit afterwards. And I'm Irish and Irish Catholic, so got the Catholic Celtic cross. And I've thought about filling it in a little bit outside more, but kind of holding off until I get, you know, a little bit more inspiration for that. And my second one is the Bobcat Rugby crest, which I got at the beginning of this year after I left GCSU.
I usually just make a joke when people ask if it hurt.
When people ask me if it hurt, I usually respond with, well, they were digging a needle into my skin for 2 hours.
Repetitive. It's a needle going into your skin a bunch of times.
So yes, it did hurt. I'm not gonna be like, no, it didn't hurt when she was digging on my spinal cord. Like, yes, it hurt.
I mean, yeah, it hurts. It's a needle into your skin, like, you know.
I'll tell them that it feels like a deep tissue massage or something.
I'm terrified of needles, but tattoos don't really scare me and they don't really hurt at all.
Usually, if someone asks how it hurt, I'm just like,
I mean, of course it hurt, that's stupid.
Of course it hurts, but it's not as bad as people say it is.
yeah, it definitely hurt.
I literally compared it to while I was sitting in the chair. I was like, if there are women who can give birth to children naturally, I can get a tattoo for 2 hours.
And usually my reaction is just kind of like an eye roll because it's the most common question.
But if people ask me, did it hurt? I'm gonna be like, yeah, but it was worth it. You know, I wouldn't put myself through that pain if I didn't think it was gonna be worth it.
pretty quick.
A little tingly at times.
It hurts for the first 10 minutes, and then endorphins start to kick in.
People will try and say, oh, it's like a bee sting, stinging you over and over again.
I mean, everybody compares it to, like a bee sting or something like that. The ones on my side felt like a bee sting.
But there's really nothing like it.
Like a sunburn that was getting scratched the whole time.
Almost like needles on some sunburn.
My back, the burn on my back didn't hurt very bad, but my ribs was like 3.5 hours of just torture.
This one, it was my first tattoo, so it hurt pretty much the whole time.
My tattoo hurt a little bit just because it's on the rib cage.
And this one on my back, I guess just because it's more so on the bone, it hurt a lot.
But with this one, I already knew what I was getting myself into, and I would say after 5 minutes it stopped hurting, and then for a good 2 hours I was totally fine, and I ended up going through just in one session, so the last like 3 hours were pretty painful.
The shoulder tattoo hurt a lot on the bone, just when it was going on and off, but then the hip tattoo, it didn't hurt at all.
Yes, it hurts a lot, but it's a very bearable pain.
I'd say don't let the pain stop you from doing what you like. I'm sure I've been judged by my tattoos.
And there are people who will just write you off for having tattoos as some other kind of person.
I wouldn't say I've ever been prejudged.
I definitely have been judged for my tattoos.
I wouldn't say I've been judged for my tattoos.
Usually people just kind of think it's cool.
I've definitely gotten some looks at the beach and the pool.
People like don't expect me to have tattoos, so when they see it, they're like, "You have a tattoo? You have tattoos?" I'm like, "Yeah, I sure do." Nobody at school has ever really judged me for my tattoos.
Being a business major was like a big concern.
Especially boys in like dating.
I can't really ever think of a circumstance where anyone's ever been judgmental about it.
I've had numerous like guys tell me, oh, I couldn't take you home to my mom because of your tattoos.
They're like, oh, like I can never take you home to my parents because you have a tattoo. Like, it's just, you're not the kind of girl I would want to date. And I'm like, you have no idea what kind of person I am. And
Yes, my family judges me for them.
There's definitely been some struggle with my parents. They're not huge fans of them.
I have not been judged by my tattoo just because the crowd of people I hang out with are pretty accepting of it in general.
It's funny because I don't know, like I'm a goody-goody, and people sometimes, if I have a shirt on that's cut down and people can see them, people definitely look at you like you're like just a degenerate or something. I'm like, no, I'm nice.
I mean, I feel like sometimes when I'm in Milledgeville and I'm like at the Bellamy pool or at the Grove pool, like I can tell people are looking at me. But I think nowadays tattoos are pretty common.
if they are a certain kind of way, were raised a certain kind of way, have a certain set of beliefs, if they find out you have a tattoo, it's over.
And everyone from home is like tatted up like way more than I am, so it's not a big deal there.
You know, usually people are pretty interested in seeing them or will say something positive about them. Although I imagine that there are some people who have put a certain label on me or counted me out from something because of my tattoos.
And people catch a glimpse of my tattoo, I do get reactions like, oh, you have a tattoo? And then I pull up the whole rugby crest and they're like, oh my God, okay, you have a huge tattoo.
With judgment, you just have to be like, if those people don't accept me for having tattoos, those aren't the kind of people I want to be around.
I think that our generation is reforming the way that people look at tattoos. And
There are people in our generation who are changing the world with tattoos.
just the context in which they get them.
I feel like our generation has just like really changed the view of tattoos because I feel like so many young people now have tattoos. And
I think a lot of the older generation has a negative view of tattoos because of what they were.
It just ties into a culture of music, and it's kind of a rebirth of, I think right now we have a lot of like neo-hippies and stuff just kind of going against the government and all that.
Well, if you look at like our parents, our generation's parents, they don't really have tattoos. And if they do, they were probably like rougher when they were younger.
They were often done in prisons.
Like before, it was kind of a form of rebellion.
Just kind of shunned upon.
They were really popular in military, kind of.
And like middle finger to the system. And
Generally seen on a lot more rough type people.
Whereas, so many people I know have tattoos now.
I feel like our generation, it's just become so much more common, I guess I would say.
It's more of an art form too.
I think it's become more of a form of art.
Of being comfortable with your body and not being afraid to express yourself.
Way to just kind of symbolize something forever.
I have friends who are heavily tattooed now that are successful.
A lot of people are just getting it just because they like to have permanent art on their bodies.
There's definitely been many, many opportunities for me to share my faith because someone sees them or wants to know more about them, and it's definitely an opportunity to open up to them about what's important to me.
I can't wait for it to become more socially acceptable.
We're moving away from the rebellious, ex-convict image.
Like they can cover them up and they're successful, and I'm thinking that our generation is going to be the one that changes it, where it's no longer looked at as a criminal thing or you're rough or you're tough, and it's just a way to express yourself.
And moving into a more socially acceptable state of being tattooed.
With our millennial culture, it's like we have the power to do these things, and it's our life and we're going to live it how we want to, not how everyone else wants us to.